A pivotal battle in the Napoleonic Wars War of the Fifth Coalition was the May 21st to 22nd, 1809 Battle of Aspern-Essling. History of the War of the Fifth Coalition. In 1809, the conflict of the Fifth Alliance was a contention between Napoleon Bonaparte's French domain and an alliance of European powers, essentially Austria and England. This war was set off by Austria's craving to challenge Napoleon's predominance in Europe, which had been immovably settled after the prior Napoleonic triumphs. Napoleon had proactively accomplished critical triumphs in the mid-1800s, merging French power across Europe. By 1809, Austria, under the leadership of Archduke Charles and Emperor Francis I, was attempting to shift the balance of power. The Fifth Alliance additionally included England. However, English powers were not straightforwardly engaged with this specific fight. Because they are on the road to Vienna, Aspern and Essling are crucial strategically. Controlling these towns was urgent for any power intending to either get or disturb admittance to the Austrian capital. Napoleon planned to catch Vienna and conclusively rout the Austrian armed force, while Archduke Charles tried to safeguard the city and cause a loss for the French army. About 95,000 soldiers were under Napoleon's command. This incorporated various units like the Magnificent Gatekeeper, prepared infantry divisions, cavalry, and mounted guns. The French armed force was efficient and had accomplished various triumphs under Napoleon's order, yet confronted strategic difficulties and a decided rival. Austrian army, around 80,000 troops including infantry, cavalry, and artillery, were under the command of Archduke Charles. The Austrian powers were strategically situated, and had arranged protective works fully expecting the French development. The very beginning, May 21, 1809, starting assaults. The fight started with Austrian assaults on the French situations close to Aspern and Essling. Archduke Charles sent off a progression of attacks expected to push back the French powers and oversee the essential positions. French defense. Despite initial pressure, Napoleon's forces were able to establish a solid defensive line. Both sides suffered significant casualties during the fierce fighting. The French figured out how to hold their ground in spite of the tenacious Austrian attacks. Day 2, May 22, 1809 proceeded with engagements. The Austrians pressed their attacks on the second day of intense fighting. As the Austrians tried to break through the French lines, the French were forced to defend their positions with more force. The Austrians were able to take important positions in the area of Aspern and Essling, which put a lot of pressure on the French troops. The terrain, including the marshy region surrounding the Danube River, made it even harder for the French to launch a successful counterattack. The battle was largely fought along the Danube River and its marshes. The waterway hindered French mobility and planned operations, making it trying for Napoleon's powers to really send. Rain and muddy conditions further complicated the troop and artillery's movement, making the weather an additional factor. Napoleon utilized customary French strategies, using his infantry and cannons to extraordinary impact. In any case, serious areas of strength from the Austrians and the provoking territory restricted his capacity to accomplish a conclusive forward leap. Archduke Charles successfully employed both defensive and offensive strategies to weaken the French forces. He took advantage of the terrain and prepared defensive positions. There were approximately 23,000 deaths, injuries, and missing among the French. The high cost of the engagement for both sides can be seen in the approximately 21,000 casualties that the Austrians sustained. The French misstep. The clash of Aspern-Essling was a critical misfortune for Napoleon. Regardless of standing firm on his situations and in the end withdrawing all neat and tidy, the fight exhibited that his powers were not strong. This constrained Napoleon to reconsider his technique and briefly end his development towards Vienna. The fight lifted Austrian confidence level and showed their ability to challenge the French. Archduke Charles' cautious achievement likewise hardened his standing as a fit military pioneer. Skirmish of Wagram. Napoleon got back together after the battle and started a new offensive. The ensuing clash of Wagram, battled on July 5 to 6, 1809, brought about an unequivocal French triumph. The War of the Fifth Coalition came to an end with this victory, and the Treaty of Schönbrunn established Napoleon's dominance in Europe for the time being. The bloody conflict at the Battle of Aspern-Essling will always be remembered. It was a pivotal moment in the Napoleonic Wars because it demonstrated both the tenacity of the Austrian forces and the difficulties Napoleon's army faced. Napoleon suffered a rare defeat in the battle, demonstrating that his forces were not invincible and that he was susceptible to challenge. The battle demonstrated how crucial terrain and logistics are in warfare. Napoleon's subsequent strategies were influenced by the difficulties he encountered in navigating the marshlands and the Danube River. The lessons learned from this battle were also used to develop military strategies and tactics for future conflicts.